Hello guys, welcome. So in this series I'm going to teach JavaScript programming language. So once you finish the series, so the expectation is you should be able to write think in JavaScript programming language. So given any problem, you'll be able to solve it using JavaScript language. So in this series, the main focus is about the foundational elements of JavaScript, starting from ground zero, right? How a little bit background about JavaScript, and we write as we continue through this series, we will write many programs, and also sometimes we could develop simple applications, right? So the goal is you should become comfortable solving problems using JavaScript. Okay, so in this video we will quickly go through little bit background about JavaScript, why it was invented, and what was the purpose, right? So if you remember back in the days when the internet was booming, so at that time we used to share information through internet. So the websites used to look like pretty much static. So what static means there is, so if you open up any website, it is just static, where you will be able to just read the information. It would not allow you to interact with that website. So basically you will not be able to click on anything or provide information. Basically there is no interaction between the website and you. So that's how it used to be in the browsers. So after many years, these teams felt that okay, so I think these websites need to be more dynamic. So what it means dynamic is that you open the website, and in today's world, like any website, you will go through and you will be able to click on buttons and it will take you to next page, right? And then you'll be able to capture, provide information, fill in forms, right? You're basically interacting with the website, and based on your interactions it responds differently, right? That's what is called dynamism, right? Making the website dynamic. So how is all that possible? Like how does a given website become dynamic, right? So that's where they introduced this JavaScript purely to make websites dynamic. Purely for that purpose they introduced JavaScript, right? And then later on, like after technology changes, there were many other technologies came up, and eventually like Node.js, you might have heard about Node.js, right? After Node.js was introduced, then it changed the whole game of JavaScript. So before Node.js, JavaScript was just used to solve that website dynamic problem, right? It is purely to address to make browsers dynamic and to be able to capture events, right? Only for that purpose. So that means that we used to call JavaScript as a purely like a client language, right? It was never used to develop any backend services or backend APIs, right? It's purely for front end. It is a front end language until Node.js was released. So after Node.js was released, then it became a backend language as well. Like you can develop APIs, any services using JavaScript, because Node.js will help to run the JavaScript on the backend, right? So before Node.js, JavaScript was purely for browsers. Browsers can only understand JavaScript, and when you write any client-side code in JavaScript, browsers are able to run it. How does browser understand JavaScript in the first place, right? So JavaScript, when you look at JavaScript code, it is purely English, right? It with programmatic syntaxes, right? But how does browsers understand JavaScript? So that's where JavaScript engine comes into picture. So every browser has a JavaScript engine. So Google Chrome, it is developed by Google, and Edge, Microsoft, and Mozilla Firefox, right? All those browsers are developed by respective vendors. So what they do is they follow common standard. So whenever you are implementing browsers, you need to follow specific standards so that the browsers can understand JavaScript in a similar manner, right? So though these companies developed these browsers, and each browser has its own JavaScript engine, even though they're named differently, they follow the same set of standards. Okay, so for example, if you look at a Google Chrome, it has the JavaScript engine's name is V8 engine, right? And for example, for Edge, it's called, I think, yeah, I forgot the name, but it's some other name like Secure, something like that, right? So Chakra, I think Chakra was the JavaScript engine. So that this naming doesn't matter. Basically, what you need to take away from this background is, okay, JavaScript was invented purely as a client-side language, which is a front-end language. But after Node.js, it is serving the purpose of backend services as well. So you can use JavaScript to write backend services. Okay. So we can quickly look into what it looks like writing a JavaScript program on the client side, right? So like I mentioned, each browser has engine. So what that means is when you write a program on the browser, that engine will process this JavaScript, which is in plain English, and then it converts that into the byte code or machine level code, whatever the code which machine can understand, right? So that engine will take care of it. And also one other important point is JavaScript is a interpreter based language. So if you look into other languages like Java, Scala, right? They're all C++, right? They're all compiler based languages. What that means is when you write in plain English, it will be compiled into intermediate level code, and then that code will be converted to machine level language, which is understood by computers. But the JavaScript is not like that. JavaScript is a interpreter based. It will never be compiled. As it is, it can be understood by JavaScript engine. So interpreter just goes from top to down, right? Top down approach, like line by line it reads, compiles, and executes. So it basically understands as it is the JavaScript. So JavaScript, Python, they're all interpreter based languages. Okay. So I think that is good enough. This a little bit background is good enough for now. You don't have to go deep into like what is ECMA standard, ECMA script, all that stuff. I think we will talk through as we go through a lot of this video series. Okay. So now let's get into quickly writing a simple JavaScript code in the browser, right? So in the browsers, every browser will have this facility where you can go to the browser and then click on right click, right? And then click on inspect. So when you inspect, basically what it does is you can go through all the HTML elements of the browser, and then you can also look into the calls, API calls it is making, and then there are a lot of other stuff that you can explore what's going on with the application that you're running, right? For example, application memory, right? In the under application you have storage, all that. Okay. So our goal is to write a simple code in the browser. So that's where you go to the console. So in this console, we use this many times, like often like you use this console quickly to write simple Java code to see like how it's working, right? So for example, here I just wanted to print hello world in JavaScript, right? So you do console.log, and then you will provide string to the log method, right? So welcome, enter, right? So it printed that. So this is plain English, right? Like I mentioned, this line is read by this browser's JavaScript engine, which is V8 engine in this browser. If you go to Edge, that will be different engine, but eventually you get the output, right? So likewise, you can quickly execute simple instructions. For example, you can define a variable a equal to 10, const b equal to 20, and then const c equal to a plus b. If you do that, then what happens? This a plus b result is put into C. Now if you print out C, then you get the result 30, right? So it is pretty easy writing JavaScript like this. So this console we basically use for simple demo purposes, right? Simple line of execution, right? But if you want to write bigger programs and then you want to run them, this is not the way. I mean, you cannot write many lines of code in this little bit of space, right? This is just to get a feel of like how quickly you can write code. I just wanted to show you like how browsers are running this code, right? So this is exactly happens when you develop any web application also. For example, Amazon.com, right? Any bank sites, any websites that you see, it is a combination of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Only these three. Whatever language they write, eventually they have to be converted into these three. So what is HTML? HTML is purely to develop the skeleton of your website. Okay, so where should my logo should be on the website? Where should my these headers be placed, and where should my buttons be placed, right? That is the skeleton. And then CSS comes into picture, where to decorate your website, right? You cannot just simply put text box with all black and white colors, right? You should make it pretty. That's where you will use CSS. CSS is for painting your website. And then that is with just those two, your website is static, right? You develop a skeleton, you put a lot of content in it, you make it pretty, but what can we do with it? We cannot interact with it. That's when you write JavaScript code, and then you bundle them together, and then you deploy to the browser. When I say deploy to the browser, meaning you deploy to the server, and then when you call your website, the server will give you all these three elements like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then all that code will be rendered by browser. And since then on, like, browser will have all the content, and it will make whatever code that you write, it will execute, and accordingly it will run the website, right? So to write bigger programs, in the next video I will show you. I'll choose one of the editors. Usually, like, I go with Visual Studio. It is pretty cool IDE to write any programs with any technology, right? It's a lightweight, so we can use Visual Code IDE, and then I'll show you how to write Java programs, and then how to execute them outside of the browser, right? All right, let's catch up in the next video. So meanwhile, you just brush up this little bit background about JavaScript, what I explained, and then also I'll give you a question, right? What is V8 engine? Okay, again I'm repeating, what is V8 engine? That is your assignment for next video. And you have any other questions, let's put in the comments, and we'll catch up in the next video. All right, see you.